This is the March 15th interview with Ruth Hawley. She's the granddaughter of William All Hands Lynch. She's almost 92 years old. She's going to be talking about her uncle, Warren Jarette Lynch. Um, what can you tell me about Warren Jarette Lynch?
Well, he was very handsome, I thought. He was a very dignified. Uh, I remember the first time I remember seeing him is he came back to Lincoln when I was about 8 or 10 years old to visit his mother, Arbella, and they had sort of a family get together, and they were all there, and they all were very close, really, and Uncle Warren gave me, I think, 50 cents or a dollar bill. And oh my, that was a lot of money. I was so thrilled over that. And I just fell in love with him because I thought he was the handsomest man I ever saw. And he had steel gray curly hair, and he was taller and thinner than the rest of them. He was uh, kind of to me, he was like a movie star living in California. Oh my. And he grew up the same, only the family, as they were growing up as children, he got picked on. And his father took the notion, just to be awkward and devilish, he took the notion that he wasn't his. And he accused Grandma of having worn by the hired man. Now, if you can figure that one out, because she was snowed under with her own family moving in with him, and there was such a crowd around it couldn't happen if in a million years. And he did it just for devilment, and then he proceeded to be cruel to Warren all the days of his life after he lived till he left home at an early age. And there was an incident. They were out in the barn, and he kept him as his child in the home, and had his place at the table, but he created this awful hatred toward his son, and Warren, he got teased by the older children. They picked up on it, how kids are, and they did cruel things to made him a very uh, well, it warped his character, being treated that way as an outcast of the family. So they were did ugly things. That I've heard different stories about games they'd play and then to play tricks on him, and well, anyway, his father. One incident in particular, Uncle Charles, the one with the one leg off, was there in the barn, and he was Warren was probably early. It had to be early teens, and his father beat on him, and the kid picked up the pitchfork, turned on his father, and he knocked the pitchfork, and the scuffle that went. He his father lost his stick that he was beating him with, or maybe he was kicking him. Maybe that was what he was at. And he grabbed his leg and tipped him over backwards with his kicking. That's one version of it. Well, then he grabbed the pitchfork. He was going literally. He was broken in his self control. Well, it just so happened that Uncle Charlie was there and saw the fracas, and uh, he talked him out of killing his father. Don't do it. You'll be paid with your life, and it isn't worth it. He took the kid's part, and he said, "Don't give up your own life for what's because he knew what had happened through the years of the boy, had been beaten and beaten and beaten, so." Uh, he talked him out of it, and he got the pitchfork away from him some way. It's how it worked out. And then before he did, though, he turned on the father, Charlie did, and berailed him for his mistreatment through the years. And he had it coming. he told his father he had that coming and the kid ought to kill him. And that kind of talk, and he got Charlie's mind off of that somebody was on his side.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that it wasn't the right way to have been treated in his life. Well, it was right after that then he left home, or maybe that same episode created.
About how old was he there?
Oh, I don't know, maybe 15, 16. But I think he went over to Aunt Carrie's home with Uncle Ben there. It seems to me he was with them a while, but he was a very bright kid, and they went the early ones. They got jobs as salesmen selling Bibles. I think on the Uncle Ben had a old team that he loaned them, and the kids went out and sold with his team of horses, and that's how they did in the early day. But whether that actually happened, but I know it didn't. Uncle Ben was a prince of a man. He was really a wonderful person that Aunt Carrie married. So he was kind of their backup savior.
Okay, so he stayed with them for a while.
I think so, but I'm not too sure about it. I think he did, because I know my father went there, and so it seems to me that Warren was there too, because the door was open for him,
Okay.
and it was the logical place that he'd go.
Okay.
So, anyhow, he married Iva, and she came from a big family, and she was a nice person, and she was a businesswoman, and she's the one that ran he was eventually, before he died, he was the founder of the Pullman Road Home Trailer Company there in California, and he ran a very successful business, but by that time he was a heavy drinker, and Iva ran the business. And they had one son called Dick, and that was their only child. And then Iva died with a quick ailment of something.
Pneumonia or something like that?
Yeah, it was. She didn't last very long. I suppose cancer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
where in California did they live?
They're down there in Los Angeles.
Pasadena area?
Oh, it was down toward the beach.
Okay.
They had the factory there and everything. That's where my dad went to work when we had to leave the ranch at Sydney, and he went to work for Uncle Warren, because he had this big Pullman Road home. So him and his buddy Jim Siddons, they both worked for Uncle Warren. That was boyhood friends that was out there.
Okay.
And but Warren had one grandchild. Dick married a girl that was from South America. Tootie. And Tootie she was something else. Everybody loved Tootie. And then they had one little girl who they named Tammy. But I don't know, I've kind of lost track of whatever happened to him. But Tootie left him, and he remarried. I don't remember who he remarried, but I know Warren's wife knew her well. That was, I can't remember.
Okay. So Warren, after he left Nebraska, basically he never came back to Nebraska. He stayed in California.
He made his home in California. There was some reason that he left. He
probably didn't like his family too much.
Well, no, but that was out of the loop for his business affairs. He had money that he got through a shady deal with an old couple, and he really was on the run, because this old couple, I think it was something like $90,000 or $100,000 their life savings, and he took off with it, and he had them convinced that there was going to be a big deal like the Pullman Road Home Trailer. He was an entrepreneur. He could sell ice to the Eskimos. He was a top salesman, and he convinced this couple this old couple, and he took the money and ran. And that's how he went to California.
And he started up that company
That's
with
right.
the old couple's money.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think he ever paid the money back?
Oh, heavens, no. He had no conscience. No, that was their problem. But that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And the law was after him. That's why he left. Of course, those things fade out through the years.
Yeah.
But he built his company on the backs of this old couple that he destituted. So that's why and how he went to California in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
was this money. And anyway, he lived, I can't remember his second wife, the old maid that he married that had a job. And that's how he lived, was on her in his old age. He died early on for, I suppose, 65 or 70.
Yeah. You said that he was an alcoholic?
Yes, a heavy drinker. Really not an alcoholic.
Just a heavy drinker.
Well, he was a functioning alcoholic.
Okay.
And he drank a quart a day. I'm trying to think of his, because the land we visited for years.
I'm sure that it's on the tree here, so I can refresh your memory after we finish the interview.
And she was a spinster lady, and she'd never been married, and he needed somebody to take care of him, and he married her.
She was from California.
Yeah, and she was very bright. She's a good businesswoman, and she was perfectly happy over that. She was a good friend of Marguerite Asmus. They kept in touch with each other, and anyway, she took care of him, and but it was a marriage of convenience, because his health had broke from his years of drinking, and she took care of him. I can't remember her name. It'll come to me, because we visited for years there in California. So I can't think of anything else.
Okay, well, I think that's probably enough for Warren Lynch. So
Yeah.
let's end this interview here.